Depression struck, many baseball owners feared the worst. They would have trouble drawing fans. The fans they did draw would have a hard time paying for the extra souvenirs or food concessions. Little did they know, people would still come to the ballpark if only to forget about their own troubles for a while. Attendance would be down in the 1930s, but none of the 16 franchises ever folded or moved as a result of the Great Depression, and some of the game's lasting stars said goodbye while others said hello. New ways of playing emerged, and a new era of baseball had begun.
Coming out of the 1920s, baseball began to boom. Newspapers and radio combined to turn the game into a new way to forget about your problems for a couple of days. New stadiums have been built and offense was booming. In 1930, both Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig hit over 40 home runs. By the end of the decade, both men would be out of the game. In September of 1939, Gehrig would make his last appearance and give one of the most memorable speeches in all of history.
The game continued to evolve in the 1930s. The Cincinnati Reds brought lights into the game in an effort to get more fans to the game. It was a new way of playing and spread all across the country. It would take 50 years before the Chicago Cubs would add lights. In fact, it was during the 1930s that a young Bill Veeck planted the ivy at Wrigley Field, which would become the face of the field and the franchise. It was also in Chicago that Babe Ruth would supposedly call his shot in the 1932 World Series. Speaking of Babe Ruth, let's move on to our most prominent figure in the evolution of baseball in the 1920s.
Babe Ruth became the face of the tremendous tectonic changes that were happening in America in the 1920s.
The Roaring Twenties in New York City. A time and place that Babe Ruth seems destined for.
When you see pictures of Ruth in a fur coat with a big stogie and just getting surrounded by women, that's kind of like someone born in the 70s. I imagine the 20s were probably like. Ruth really captured that time. This is a guy that was living large. Not a care in the world except for having a wonderful time. Just taking life in these huge gulps that everyone's giving him everything he wanted, and he just kept eating it and wanting more and more and more, whether it was food or women or drink or drink. And that is part of his character as well, that this guy that was too big for the world.
Everything about him was big. And of course it comes along at a time in the 20s when bigness and speed are of the essence. And so he epitomized the notion of American clout, literally. He was the personification of American clout. And I think the fact that he would do anything almost and say anything almost was, irresistible.
Well, that is a pip.
If Babe Ruth off the field would have been, well, I'm just trying to play one game at a time. Just going out there and trying to do the best I can for my team and try to help them win. There's no way he's Babe Ruth. He's Babe Ruth not just because of what he does on the field, but what he does it off. And that is essential to the Babe Ruth mythic type figure as what he was doing as a player.
In the 1920s, Babe Ruth is the man. He is also a celebrity, and he's living life to the limit.
He was the Wunderkind, the young eternal boy, the puer aeternus, they call it in mythology. Gargantuan size, but one with an elan vital. This was an old theory that heroes have something different running through their veins. The Greeks used to call it ichor. It was a different kind of blood, a different kind of juice. Babe Ruth personified something new, bold, sometimes arrogant.
Beyond the pleasures, though, at the peak of his career, Babe Ruth is a star putting himself at unprecedented risk.